to episode 37 of the Circle Back podcast, show where two great friends get together and just talk about video games. I'm Dan LaMarca. As always, I'm joined by Dan Dufrenoy.
Hello.
And Dan, we are going to start it like you know I love to do.
Okay.
What you been playing?
What I've been playing. Not much this week. Been a very, very busy week. Still playing Ni no Kuni 2, but most of my week I kind of had my mission to do some Metal Gear, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. That's my big...
Ni no Kuni 2, pretty much more of the same?
More of the same. I love it. I'm really, really enjoying it. It's one of those games I wish I could play more of, but, I'm sure I said it a bunch of times. That's a game that, when me and my sister both enjoy a game, that's when, when we try to find time together, and of course, when we're both busy, it's a little tough. But we got some time to play a little Ni no Kuni, put an hour or two into that, and the rest, like I said, I really dedicated this week to Metal Gear Solid. So
cool.
I'm looking forward to tell you more about that after you tell me,
Yeah.
Dan the Man LaMarca.
Before I jump into the big one, I will say I played a little bit more No Man's Sky Next.
Okay.
I didn't have much time. I was camping this weekend and did not play much games except for yesterday. And No Man's Sky Next, I continue to hope that there's something more, and I'm not seeing it yet.
All right.
I still am going to keep going because I really want to get to the point where I say either this isn't what I want or there it is, that's what I want.
Right now you're like
lukewarm.
You know what I mean? You're going into the pool and it's only up to your knees, and you're trying to decide whether you're going to go all the way in or go back out and have snacks.
Exactly. So once I get in deep enough to see what there really is, then
analogy.
Not bad. I'm very impressed.
I know, right?
I'll also say I did play a little more Octopath. I didn't put it on here. I think I might be done with that game.
I haven't played anymore since.
Yeah, I think I might be done.
How far have you gotten into Octopath?
I played the first of the second parts of the mission.
Okay. For each person?
Yeah, and it's the same. And it's not, again, it's still a good game that I enjoy playing, but I don't know, man. I'm at the point where I'm kind of like, I'm not interested in the story.
Yeah. And
it's just the same grindy gameplay. And it's like, that's fun, but after a certain point, it's like, if you have nothing that you're going for, then it's a tough sell to play that long in this game. It's
so funny. My buddy John, hi John, if you're watching, he loves this game like so much. Like, he's like, oh my gosh, I've never played a game like this. This is like absolutely amazing. Do you think the problem is that we've played like games like Final Fantasy and
yeah, I remember on the last episode we talked about that a little bit. We actually brought up your friend John, but I think that's part of it.
Where it's just like we've played games that are like
where it's like we know what it could be,
right,
and it's just not doing it. Mm-hmm. Like I always talk about Persona 4, where it's like I would not have put that game down ever. Because I was so into the story, even though the combat was very repetitive, and it's a great combat system. It's very similar to Octopath actually, but it's like at a certain point, it's like I'm playing the same thing over and over again. So I need an end to the, you know what I mean?
Right.
So right now, that's how I'm feeling about Octopath. If I find a lull or something, maybe I'll jump back in and play a couple more hours. But it's really not dragging me back in.
I gotcha.
So
all right,
we'll see.
All right.
Big game for this week.
Yeah, tell me about this game.
Is Dead Cells.
All right.
So Dead Cells, I've been telling you about for a little bit now. Mm-hmm. It's been in early access. People are loving it. Even when it was in early access, it's getting high praise. Reviews came out the day before, and I remember thinking in my head, like, all right, we're going to see a lot of 8s, a couple 9s. It's going to be a good game. It's been very, very highly reviewed. Like a lot of
good old 87.
Yeah, but a lot of these publications are saying like, one of their favorite roguelike games, best of the genre type of deal. So I'll talk about the game from the top level. The way that I would describe it is when you have these Metroidvania type games, which this is, but it's roguelike. So it's like Metroidvania usually skews either towards Metroid a little bit or towards Castlevania. This is very much a Symphony of the Night style.
Okay, yeah.
Combat's fast, a lot of different weapons you can use and stuff. But what it does is it's a Metroidvania style game where you're going through, finding secret areas, like grabbing new weapons, grabbing new abilities, stuff like that. But it's a roguelike in the way, so, we're going to talk later about roguelites, roguelike. There's a difference, but this game is very much in a similar vein to Rogue Legacy, okay? So there are things that you do throughout your runs that feed into a greater economy, right? So it's like, when you die and come back, you are that exact same person with 100 health.
Or a little bit better.
One of each, you're not better.
Oh, okay.
What you do get is different things. You basically get these things called cells as you travel through, and you spend your cells to either, I'll give you a couple examples just to let you know. It's like, spend 30 cells and you get a health flask, which is like an Estus flask, which is you use it and you recover a bunch of health, and then it's depleted until you get to the next safe area.
Okay.
And then it fills up and you do it again. You use 30 cells to unlock an ability that allows you to, when you die, you save 3,000 gold. So at the start of your next run, there will just be a little bag of 3,000 gold if you had 3,000 or more gold.
Gotcha.
At the start. So basically, you're doing little things like that. You're getting one of the abilities that you can unlock is random starting melee weapon, which means instead of just the same sword, now you can have random pool of what you have unlocked.
Cool, okay.
So and on top of that, you're getting blueprints, which are, when you bring them back to a safe zone, it unlocks them in that pool and in the pool of what you can find in the environment.
Okay.
So in the beginning, it's like you can only find a limited amount of items, and then it's basically what you can find in shops and stuff like that. You still will get random drops, like from beating bosses or stuff like that aren't in your pool. Like, it'll be like, wow, look at this cool shield I never saw before or whatever. So you're doing that, and so that's why I'm saying each time you start with the same stats. It's not exactly like Rogue Legacy. Rogue Legacy was like, you're actually upgrading your HP and like stuff like that, so you can get further and further into the dungeon. This is like, you're unlocking the trappings around it that's going to make your life easier, but your base stats are the same. Like, you're going to start with, you have these 3 different categories of skills. It's like brutal, technical, and survival, I think. And it's basically red, purple, green. So whenever you pick up a weapon, it'll be color-coded with one of those colors. And if you have a brutal weapon, it'll be red. And then when you get, randomly in the world, because it is procedurally generated, like roguelike, whatever, when you find, there's like a scroll, an upgrade scroll.
Okay.
And it'll say, do you want to upgrade your brutal, your technical, or your survival? And whichever you do, you gain a percentage HP, and then you gain plus 15% damage with that weapon type. So you're kind of, on each run, you're like building out a different set of skills and like mastery in them. You know what I mean? But what happens is, which is really cool, is it tries to get you to not like min-max by saying each time you upgrade technical, so it'll start out, it'll say, upgrade brutal, you get plus 15% damage with red weapons and plus 50% HP. Like, your HP pool goes up by 50%. It'll say technical, plus 15% damage with purple weapons, plus 40% HP or something like that. And survival, 15% with green weapons, plus 60% HP, whatever. You pick one, and then if you get the next upgrade scroll and it's purple, and you did it before, so now you have 2 points in purple and 1 in red and 1 in green, it'll say plus 30% HP. And then you do upgrade again, plus 16% HP. So like, if you keep going on the same path, your HP pool is not going up by as much, but you are upgrading the percentage damage for your weapons.
Okay, I got
So
you.
it's kind of like, at certain points, you're like, oh god, my HP is so low compared to where I should be. Let me just take the 60% of the survival one, even though I don't have any green weapons. But if you really want to be good, it's like you want to master out whatever you're going for, whatever your build is.
But it's all just in the name of, so your next run, you're stronger.
No,
more powerful.
no.
Really?
What you're doing here is you're upgrading as you go, and then when you start over, you have 1 point in each. That's what I'm saying. You're not. The things that you're taking back are each time. This is why it's interesting. It's not that you die and then you come back with things to give.
Right.
It's that each time you clear an area, so there's like there are totally discrete areas where it's like you start out in the prison. Next area you go is the yard or something, right? In between the prison and the yard, there's a safe zone, and you go in and you go to merchants, and they're like, the one guy's like, give me your cells and I'll unlock the abilities, like I was saying, where it's like, all right, now when you die, you keep 3,000 of your gold. Then you go to a merchant that gives you a mutation, which is like, for this run, you get to upgrade these random things. So the mutations are like, you get 3 max, and they're all totally different. Like one might be minus 47% grenade cooldown or something, right? That's just for this run.
And it's only for the one run?
Yes, because on the mutations, you don't spend any cells. With the merchant, you're spending cells to unlock things for future runs.
Okay, gotcha. But that doesn't mean that you have them. It just means that they're unlocked. So let's just say there's like a sword, that you don't have.
Now it's going to possibly appear in a merchant shop in levels.
I got you now.
So
okay,
that's why it's more of a roguelike than Rogue Legacy, where Rogue Legacy was like twisting the genre on purpose, where it was saying like,
I keep thinking of Rogue Legacy when you,
because Rogue Legacy, you take your gold back after you die,
and then you buy stuff,
and you upgrade your mana, which gives you higher HP and higher damage and stuff like that. So you're upgrading your overall character. In this, like I said, each time you start a new run, you start level 1, in each of the 3 categories, and you start with 100 HP.
Okay.
Period. Now, like I said, what you can do is I have like random secondary weapon available at start. So it's like, instead of just getting the basic bow that does 100 damage with your sword, now I get random whatever I have unlocked. So I have like an ice blast, I have throwing knives, stuff like that, and it's each time it's random what it has available for you to take. Now, what makes this game great, and I think it's great, really great game, is a couple of things. Number one, the combat system is incredible. Absolutely incredible. It's super varied depending on what weapons you use, and it's so fluid. Like, it is really so fluid. You feel like an action movie guy when you roll through a door, stun this guy, jump over him, stab him in the back. Like, it's just such a really rewarding feeling game. And because you have, basically your slots are primary weapon, secondary weapon, and then you have 2 like assist weapons pretty much. So it's like square is your primary, triangle is your secondary, L2, R2 are your like additional support weapons or whatever. And those support weapons can be traps. Like, you can lay down an automated turret pretty much. So you just throw it on the ground, and then as long as you're standing close enough to it, it will shoot whatever enemy is closest to you.
That's cool.
So there are tons of different strategies of what you want to do, and that's why I've been skewing towards like the purple build, the technical, I think it's technical, I don't remember. But I've been skewing towards that because I like the traps, and I like a freezing grenade. You throw it and all the enemies freeze, and then you can, do your work. Or you can just do a brutal build and get all red weapons and just do straight damage output, And that's why this game is so interesting, because even the primary weapons are very varied. There's the regular sword, there's twin daggers, which are really fast. There's like a big hammer that's like slow to hit, but it does a lot of damage. There's whips, they're like electric whips that home in on, like they have longer range than the sword obviously, but they home in on the closest enemy. So it's like they're good for if you have a flying guy that's tough to kill normally, like a Medusa head type of thing. Your whip is gonna home in towards it.
That's awesome.
There's a foot. It's like a Spartan sandal or something, and you just do a big like kick, and it's slow, but it does a lot of damage. It's a really cool game that feels really good, along with its trappings are incredible. Stuff I didn't even mention that's some of my favorite stuff in the game is that the Metroidvania aspect of it is in each area there's a boss. And you can totally bypass the boss. You could miss him. You couldn't even see him. And what would happen is you just go to the next level, you continue on, and then you can keep going through the world.
So you can play the entire game without playing a boss. Okay.
So now the reason that these bosses are important is because when you beat the boss, and I'm talking specifically about like there are these like elite enemies that are very boss-like characters that are in certain areas, and when you defeat them, they give you a traversal mechanic.
What does that mean?
So one gives you see these little clumps of moss on the ground and you can't do anything. It says press R1 to tickle or something. And then you just tickle it and nothing happens.
R1 to tickle.
Once you beat this first boss, it now allows you to turn that moss into a vine.
Oh, okay.
Which now you can climb up and access an area you couldn't have accessed before.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So it does a really interesting thing with the procedural generation of the levels because the pieces are random. And each time you enter an area, they're ordered in a different way. But each time there will be, in that area, there will be a piece of moss that you can put a vine in that will lead up into a So what happens is it starts splitting off because when you climb that vine and get up to the top, all of a sudden there's an entrance to a different area.
Okay.
So if you didn't have the vine the first time, you went through, there's a different area to go to, you hop in, go through, you die, start over. Now all of a sudden you have the vine, you go up. Now it's like, oh, there's a door here that I wouldn't have been able to access before to a different area. So you go in there, and then that will take you on a different path.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know how they all intersect with each other and where the crossover is, but there are different paths through these worlds. And each area, so the game is beautiful, like absolutely beautiful, like pixel art done to like an incredible degree. There are these enemies in particular that are so striking that are in like a later area called the ossuary, and they're these big guys with like they look like skeletons with like big mariachi hats, and they walk. And there's something about the way this pixel art looks with the big characters, where they look so fluid, but I can't even really describe it. It's almost like it doesn't fit in this game. Like it doesn't have the same art style of this game, but it looks so good. Like it's such a, I'm telling you, the art in this game is incredible.
What studio did this game? What studio did Set Sauce? Do you know?
What are they called? I gotta look.
It's like it's an indie studio, right? It's a small indie studio.
I think this is their first game.
Really?
Yeah. Let me look it up. I should know. Motion Twin. Yeah.
Motion Twin. Okay.
Yeah. Motion Twin made the game, and they really have done a great job. I'm telling you, I am in love with this game. I think it's amazing. Everything that they do, and things that happen are, you'll come across a new merchant that you've never seen before. That all of a sudden it's like, all right, he has this huge bar of cells you can give him. You can give him 1,000 cells. It's like for every 50 cells you get, it gives you another 5% chance that an upgraded version of a weapon will drop instead of a regular version of a weapon.
Okay.
You know, so you're really feeding into like these incremental upgrades that are upgrading the world more than yourself. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like
that's a great way to explain it. So I get it. So you're upgrading the world and not yourself. So that the world, every time you upgrade, it's that the world offers you more. It's not that you actually get stronger.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And
that's why I was so confused.
The only way that you're upgrading yourself is by beating these bosses and getting these traversal mechanics. Yeah. Because some of these mechanics might be, you know, like I said, the vine. Also, another one is now you can break through certain floors.
Gotcha.
And you'll be like, oh my God, I remember in that second area, there's so many floors that I could break through now.
Gotcha.
That's the Metroidvania aspect of it.
Right.
Where like you're getting these mechanics and going back. But it's so interesting to see that in a roguelike game, you know, where Rogue Legacy did this a little bit, but it didn't really feel like it was more like happenstance when you're able to get easy area or access to secret areas where it's like, oh, I happen to have a dwarf character and I happen to come across this area that was small, you know what I mean? And this is like, you're getting it and you're like, okay, there are these persistent places in these procedurally generated areas. So anything that you see repeated every time you go through, you're like, this is important in some way. Otherwise, it wouldn't be here.
Right.
You know, so it's like it's a cool balance between procedural generation and like handcrafted areas.
That's awesome.
And you know, boss battles are incredible. So many of these different areas are so unique and different. New enemies in every area. Like, it's just, I'm telling you, it's a fantastic,
really
fantastic game. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick it up today. I didn't get a chance to pick it up tomorrow, but I'll definitely play it this weekend.
Cool. Yeah. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, man.
Again, it's like it's definitely a love letter to Castlevania Symphony of the Night, but it's more than that. It's its own thing. You know what I mean?
Write many love letters
really
to
just
Castlevania, so that makes a lot of sense.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I said that too. I was like, Castlevania. I didn't say it right. Castlevania.
Before we go into Metal Gear Corner, I want to talk about something that is related to the game we're just talking about, Dead Cells. Something very strange and interesting happened in the industry this past week because the Dead Cells review. I'll just read the headline. We're reading from a Kotaku article where the headline is IGN pulls review after plagiarism accusations. Then it says update, writer fired. So I'll give you the overview of this. A small YouTuber that he's called Boomstick Gaming. He put out a Dead Cells review. He got the game early, put out the review, and it was basically a video review where he discussed what he liked about the game, what he didn't like about the game, whatever, you know, normal review fodder. And IGN put out their review upon embargo the day before the game, so I guess Monday. It was almost like verbatim part of it. I'm going to read some of the little snippets. The first one that they have here on the Kotaku article that they highlight is this one was from Boomstick, the first part. He says, this combat system is fast, fluid, responsive, and one of the most rewarding representations of 2D combat of the entire genre. Then you have IGN's review that says, fights are fast, fluid, responsive, and hands down one of the most gratifying representations of video game combat I've ever experienced. So that's number one. It does get worse. It gets significantly worse. Here's one. Boomstick says, in most games of this genre, your coolest skills and spells are often set to strictly long recharge timers or a limited mana system. But in Dead Cells, your abilities have incredibly quick recharges and allow you to seamlessly integrate these gadgets in normal encounters, and it doesn't make you feel penalized for using your cool stuff. The guy who wrote the IGN review says, most games limit your most useful skills with long cooldown timers or a limited mana system, but Dead Cells encourages you to use your deadliest gadgets with a fast recharge timer. It never punishes you for using your best tactic.
I think this is the worst one.
Yeah, this next one is bad because it's so short, it's so obvious, you know what I mean? Boomstick says, Dead Cells only falter slightly with some repetition setting, and especially on the early areas and during longer play sessions. And the guy from IGN says, Dead Cells does falter slightly with some repetition, but it's only felt in its earlier areas and during extended play sessions.
It's so bad.
Yeah, so without, reading every single one of these, it is so clear that this is like a high schooler trying to copy his friends.
Let me have your essay.
Let me see your essay, and I will just reword it.
Yeah.
And say the exact same thing. And it's like,
George Washington was the first president. The first president was George Washington.
Exactly. And that's what this guy's doing. And it's really... So the guy, the YouTuber, Boomstick, whoever, he basically said... He put up a video after IGN's review went live that said, IGN plagiarized my review, ... What do I do? And he put up this video. He had 11,000 subs at the time. And that video went viral, has, over 500,000 views, and obviously it got back to IGN, it got back to everyone in the gaming industry, everyone's calling out IGN for this, what are you guys going to do? So they took down the review, fired the writer. It's just an interesting thing.
You'd think IGN would be super professional about all this, but...
It's a little weird, but I wanted to bring it up because we are talking about Dead Cells this week. Biggest game this week. A lot of people really love it. So I just wanted to bring that up quickly. We're not gonna dive too deep into it. We'll just say, obviously, shame on that guy.
Yeah, seriously, that's crappy.
It's not cool. Trying to take advantage of smaller channels because maybe he didn't have time to do it or he didn't want to do it, and he just looked up Dead Cells review and found a small one that hopefully nobody would call him out on, and I don't know, man.
Jeez,
pretty weird.
Louise.
But anyway, that's about it for that.
Yeah, I'm glad you actually pulled up the article because I don't know if you saw on the side 16 minutes ago, somebody just announced that Simon Belmont and Richter Belmont are going to be on Smash.
No.
That was just on the.
That's not true, is it?
It just said I could be crazy, but on the Kotaku.
Wow. Wow. Simon Belmont and Richter Belmont join Super Smash Bros.
Talk
Ultimate.
about Circle Back Gaming giving you the latest, quickest updates.
Yeah, not like this is going up 5 days later or anything.
Oh, this is 5 days later? Oh, yeah, wait, no, this is 5 days. Damn.
That's pretty cool, though. That is actually really cool.
I'm
glad to see that. All right, cool. That's a little tidbit for you. Pretty cool character model.
I'm pumped.
All right, nice.
Anyway.
All right, so Dan, I want to hear what's been going on in the world of Metal Gear.
All right, let's do it. Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater.
Where did we leave off last?
All right, so last where we left off, we had to blow up the Shagahad, which was the first Metal Gear in 1964. And you had to just plant all the C3 to blow up the entire facility, and the whole place would go kablammy. So, that's what I did. I planted the C3.
Okay.
Right? To blow up the Shagahad. And then what happens is, once Snake plants the C3, and before it can detonate, Ocelot, the boss, and Vulcan show up. Vulcan finds Eva, and he realizes that she's a spy, and that she has the Philosopher's Legacy, which is what we learned was like the $100 billion from the United States, Soviet Union, and China, and the Philosophers. Eventually, you find it later in this game, the American version does become the Sons of Liberty. So this is all the secret organizations behind running the scenes. So anyway, Vulcan finds Eva, realizes she's a spy, and he sends the boss to go dispose of her. And Snake's freaking out because, he likes Eva. So that's pretty intense. So then you have a boss fight with Vulcan, our electric friend, Vulcan, and he starts trying to attack you. And at this point, what's interesting is that Ocelot starts to help you. Vulcan's shooting lightning at you, and Ocelot starts throwing health at you. He starts throwing bullets at you, trying to help you out. You're fighting Vulcan, and there's a bunch of cutscenes while you're fighting him where he's asking Ocelot to help him, and Ocelot's like, "I'm not taking orders from you." And you're like, Ocelot, you're so strange because you think he's one way and then he's the opposite way, and it gets even stranger as the game goes on.
It certainly does.
Anyway, so you fight Vulcan, you beat Vulcan. You think you beat Vulcan. You leave him, he's laying on the ground. Snake runs up, and the timer starts going off that the C3 is about to explode, and the whole facility is gonna blow up. What's actually really interesting, too, is there's actually a timer. You only have 5 minutes to actually beat Vulcan, and the only reason you know that is because the freaking Sorrow shows up with this piece of cardboard again with a counter running down, running down for when the explosives are gonna go off. So anyway, so you fight Vulcan, you think he's gone, you get the hell out of there because the facility is about to blow up. As it happens, Eva arrives on a motorcycle, and you're like, whoa, that's amazing because we thought the boss was gonna kill you. And she's like, no, the boss didn't kill me. I gotta tell you something. And Snake's like, yeah, we don't have time for that now. You can tell me later, we gotta get out of here. Anyway, Eva tells you that the boss is waiting for Snake at the lake, and that Eva's never seen, what did she say? Never seen such clear eyes. And you're like, what does that mean? Is that some sort of metaphor? But she really makes it dramatic, so you think that means something, because you're like, wait a second. Vulcan told the boss to dispose of Eva, but yet he let her live. Why would the boss let Eva live? What's going on? Yada yada yada. Anyway, so you're on the motorcycle with Eva, and you're driving away because the facility is starting to blow up. So as the facility blows up, Vulcan, who we thought was dead, is not dead, and he pilots the Shagahad, and he comes after you. And actually, one of the coolest parts of the game, you're on a motorcycle with Eva, right? And she's driving, and you have a machine gun, and tanks are coming after you, soldiers are coming after you, and behind you is the huge Metal Gear with Vulcan on top of it coming after you. And it's like a 20-minute like sequence of you like riding your bike and like shooting and stuff like that. It's really cool. It reminds me of like it's like one of those like arcade games at like Time Crisis or House of the Dead, like an arcade sort of like thing. So really cool. You guys come up with an idea. The only way to destroy the Shagohod is you lure the Shagohod into a bridge where Eva planted C3 and blow it up. So that's your plan. But then again, confused because Ocelot was helping you with fight Volgan, but now Ocelot is after you again and he's trying to kill you. So I'm very confused about Ocelot. And then Ocelot's on his motorcycle and the building's about to collapse and Snake saves him. So then Ocelot leaves him alone and you're like, okay, so him and Ocelot are cool now. Again, he shows up again later. Anyway, so you go to the bridge and as the Shagohod is passing, blow up the bridge. And you're like, oh, yay, all right, good, we can go, we can leave. Volgan's dead, the Shagohod's destroyed. Finally, let's get out of here. Yes, it's 1 a.m, I can go to bed and tell Dan that I beat Metal Gear Solid 3. Not the case. The Shagohod's still standing, it's alive, Volgan's still alive, and now you have to have a one-on-one showdown with it, where Eva's on the motorcycle, she's riding around it, distracting it, and you gotta, like, Volgan's standing on top of the Shagohod, and you gotta kill him while he's on top of the Shagohod. Anyway, so as that's happening, you finally destroy him. He dies by a cutscene where a bolt of lightning strikes him, and he dies, you know, his own medicine used against him. And Volgan's dead, the Shagohod's destroyed. All right, I can go to bed and tell Dan I beat Metal Gear Solid 3. But it's not over, because Volgan's men are still very, very attached to him, and they start following you. As you and Eva run away, they fall and they get hurt. Eva gets impaled by a branch, and Snake's really, really hurt. So you got to heal her, and it's kind of one of those, what do they call the quests where you have to, like, it's a companion quest? What is it when you got to...
I don't know what you mean.
You got to, like, help, like, you got to protect someone, and you got to take them from point A to point B?
Oh, God.
It's one of those. So Eva's hurt really, really bad, and there's enemies coming at you, but you got to get to the lake to find the boss, and Eva has a plane waiting for you. Escort mission. So you have to escort Eva, because she's hurt really, really bad. You got to constantly protect her. You got to give her food to give her more stamina. You got to give her health. So you escort her to the ship, and you got to go see the boss. Anyway, once you get to the lake, Eva sets the escape up, and she's like, "Come on, Snake, let's go." And Snake's like, "No, like I gotta go, like see the boss." So Snake goes to the lake to go meet the boss. And now let me just forewarn everybody: this is one of the best, like, the Metal Gear series I've come to realize has a lot of crap in it, and a lot of things I just roll my eyes at. But like, there are moments like this that I'm like, "Oh my gosh." This game is wonderful. So this whole end sequence with the boss, insane spoilers. If you like,
I mean, this whole series is based on spoilers, so don't worry about that.
I know, but
I
want people
literally
to play
going minute to minute through the game.
I want people to play this because this is really, really good. So anyway, so you run into the boss, and the boss gives her backstory on the philosophers. It's a lot of info. You find out that she's a daughter of one of the philosophers, right? You find out that she and the Sorrow were best friends, that she had a baby with the Sorrow, and the philosophers took the baby away from her. You don't know if the baby was killed or just taken away. So you also find out that she had to kill the Sorrow because the philosophers pitted them together. Very much like Snake's pitted against the boss. One of those foreshadowing kind of things.
That's why he's the Sorrow.
So anyway, so it's time for a boss fight with the boss. Ooh, boss fight with the boss. But anyway, so she's like, "Listen, I know what you have to do. You know, I'm not going to go without a fight." And she's like, "You know, I taught you everything I know. Now it's time for you to, you know, use it against me." And it's like this fight. You're in this like patch of like these like white flowers, and she's like an all in white, so she's like super stealthy. You can't find her. You end up having to like.
Such a good fight.
It's
isn't it?
so good. She's hiding, and out of nowhere, you won't even see where she is, and then she'll just like hit you.
Yeah.
So you got to like be really, really stealthy. You got to try to find her. Anyway, you eventually knock her down, and again, in one of the most emotional sequences, There's Snake and the boss. The boss is lying there, like knowing that she's gonna die. Snake holds a gun up to her, and you gotta pull the trigger, and you gotta kill the most important person in your entire life, your mother figure, your best friend, your everything, and you shoot her. And once you do, like all the white flowers, like
it like waves out, and they all go to darkness.
To like red.
Right?
Yeah, crazy. So anyway, so he killed the boss.
Cool scene, isn't it?
The boss is dead. The boss is finito.
That's right.
The whole mission was to destroy the boss, and you did.
You succeeded.
But it gets so much better. So anyway, so you go on the plane ride, you find Eva, and you're going to go to Alaska to elope and have your life and whatever. And then Ocelot shows up again, right? Right? So we got to talk about this because I'm so confused about Ocelot. So Ocelot shows up, and he wants to have a last showdown with Snake, right? He takes out his guns, and he puts 2 guns down on the plane, and he goes like, all right, let's have a duel, like one last showdown, you and me. And Snake's like, fine, whatever, right? So, you pick up the guns, you do like
stuff he does with the guns in this part is so good.
But it's like a Burn Hamilton, they start walking, and they turn and they shoot, and you got to shoot Ocelot. But when you do, it's all blanks. And then Ocelot was like, haha, good match. And like he leaves. So
is he in a plane at this point?
He's in a plane.
And does he jump out of the
plane?
He
jumps out of the plane.
I thought so. I wasn't sure. I was misremembering that.
So yeah, so it's like it was all about like camaraderie. He just liked Snake, and he just wanted to like crazy. I don't know what his.
He's Vegeta. It's Goku and Vegeta.
Yeah. Anyway, so Eva and Snake escape to Alaska, and they spend the night together. They have their love scene. Finally, everybody's been waiting for it. They start making out and doing it. It's like, hey, all right, yeah, we knew this was gonna happen. Freaking Kojima. Anyway, so during the night.
Well, yeah, this is what makes it okay, I think.
This is what makes it amazing.
Yeah.
She was just seducing him because she's actually a spy, right? So during the night, Eva disappears.
It's not like everyone told Snake that he was a spy, that she was a spy the whole time or anything, right?
Yeah, that's true. Everybody, the whole game was like, don't trust her, don't trust her, don't trust her, don't trust her. And then the whole time he's like, yeah, no, I don't trust her, I don't trust her. And then he finally trusts her. And then, so anyway, during the night, Eva disappears with the microfilm, which is the Philosopher's Legacy, and leaves behind a tape, revealing herself not to be a Russian spy, but a Chinese spy sent to steal the Philosopher's Legacy for China, right? And she was given orders to kill Snake, but she couldn't because Snake saved her life on many occasions. So she double-crossed Snake. Gosh, darn it. Anyway, but this is where it gets really, really juicy, right? The tape continues, right? And I feel like I wrote this very eloquently, so I'm going to read it word.
All right, let's hear it.
Eva reveals that the boss kept her alive to tell Snake the truth. Eva was supposed to kill Snake, but decided not to for the boss's sake. The boss, you find out, actually did not defect to the Soviet Union. He was under orders to pretend to defect so she could infiltrate Volgan's ranks and find the location of the legacy, which could be brought back to America. The final part of her mission was to sacrifice her honor and die at the hands of Snake under the guise of a traitor to prove the U.S.'s innocence in Volgan's nuclear attack during the Virtuous mission, but also secure this Philosopher's Legacy. So, this whole thing was she was working for the United States. The United States knew.
She's the greatest spy of all time.
She's the greatest spy of all time, but the United States knew.
They knew, yeah.
They knew that she wasn't a traitor, but they had to trick Snake into thinking that she was a traitor so that they could kill her.
They had no way.
To the Soviet Union.
That's why they had no way to prove that unless she died at the hands of the person they cared about her the most.
So they had to prove to the Soviet Union that they weren't responsible for the nuclear attack by ruining this woman's life. And so after this, Snake's like dumbfounded, and you're learning all this while he gets. What happens? Snake's awarded the title. He goes. This is all like you hear Eva's narration of what the boss is saying. At this point, he's all dressed up. He's meeting the president, and he's getting a medal for like Medal of Honor or something like that. This whole time, like he's just like super. He just has no part of it. Everybody's trying to shake his hand. He's not even like bothering shaking anybody's hand. You hear one guy from Fox looking at him and being like, "Oh, we should create like soldiers just like him." Like a little nod to like Solid Snake and stuff like that. But Snake is so distraught, and after hearing about how his mentor, the one person that he cared about, was innocent, and he had to kill her, and like again, it's kind of like in all the Metal Gear games, like Snake was just used again, like. every time Snake is always just being used. Raiden was used. Everybody's just used. They're all pawns of the government. So he goes to Arlington, and I don't know if the boss's grave is there, but he goes to like an anonymous grave or something like that. He puts flowers down. He salutes. And he starts crying.
It's supposed to be the boss's grave, yeah.
Because he knows that throughout history she'll be like reviled. So she's reviled by the United States and the Soviet Union. She's
Everyone
like,
hates her, yeah.
Yeah, she's like thought of as a terrorist, like a war criminal. Like she is like bad of the bad.
Mm-hmm.
And Snake is the only one that knows that like she was completely innocent and she was like she gave
her life for the mission.
Yeah, seriously, like she really made the biggest sacrifice. She gave up her reputation, her life, her everything for her country. And I mean, but also I think this makes sense because I want to talk about it a little bit more after because I know you know the Metal Gear series. The big boss, right, has always been looked upon as like a bad guy in the series, or kind of like he was like one of the antagonists
in Metal Gear, not Solid.
The original, yeah.
And Metal Gear 2 and 3 and whatever, Big Boss is the bad guy.
Right.
So.
Right, but
there's a reason for that, and the reason that we're not going to talk too much about it is because Metal Gear Solid 5 does a lot.
Okay.
Has a lot to do with 3. It's almost like a follow-up years after, but it's with Big Boss, with Outer Heaven, everything like that.
Because like part of it kind of, it really does a good job making you like, if you were in that position, why you would turn on the government and be like, wait a second, I'm being used, and you made me kill the person I care most about. Like, you kind of realize why he's so jaded. And so, like, here you have, like, the most noble soldier in the beginning doing, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And then at the end, he's just like, wait a second.
So, yeah, you'll get more of it in 4. And in 5, you'll get a lot more.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm looking forward to it then. Awesome.
Same thing with Ocelot. I know you want to talk about Ocelot, but
yeah,
5 gives you a lot with. I mean, 4, he's like the main. He's a big player in it.
Oh, awesome.
But 5, you get a lot of Big Boss and Ocelot.
All right, good. I look forward to it then.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting. It makes a lot of sense. It's like, of course he's going to turn on the government. He was used and he had to kill someone he cares about,
Makes sense.
Anyway, follow-up credits. You give like a little brief history of what happens afterwards. And you find out that the American branch of the Philosophers becomes the Sons of Liberty. That makes sense because I even said, I was like, oh, that sounds like the Philosophers sound like the Sons of Liberty. They are. You find out Big Boss creates Foxhound. And then, in 1972, the Infant Terrible Project, and the Sons of Boss are born.
It's Liquid and
Solid Snake. And then...
Solidus?
Solidus. Anyway, after the credits roll, though, and we'll talk more about Ocelot later, but there was like a weird thing where he's talking to like the CIA.
Who is?
Ocelot, revealing himself not to be a KGB agent. He's actually working for the CIA. So Ocelot was like a triple agent.
You don't know the half.
Yeah.
Once you play 4,
okay,
Ocelot is like the ultimate double, triple, quadruple, quintuple like agent, like back and forth. He's like he has no sides. He just does everything.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and you'll see that's a big part of 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you find out that he was actually, remember in the beginning of the game you're supposed to find Adam instead of Eva? He was Adam. And then Eva just showed up and he just said, okay, I'll let her take care. Like, like everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, like, yeah, it's so weird how I don't know his allegiance. Like, I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. He eventually lines up with Big Boss, right?
Yeah, like I said, you'll see more.
I'm don't ask too many questions.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give too much away because that's the whole point of this.
All right.
The less you know going into these games, the better.
All right. Like I said, I'm just very confused. Ocelot's allegiance.
Yeah,
but
as you should be.
Okay.
That's what we'll say.
All right, but I do understand Big Boss a little bit better. I'm more interested to learn about his story.
Very excited for you too as well.
Definitely, I think Metal Gear Solid, playing the first 3, I think Metal Gear Solid 1 is still my favorite.
Yeah.
But the beginning and ending of Metal Gear Solid 3 is just one of the best in video games, I think. And that whole
and
thing
now
with the boss is just...
Here's the other part of that. You're saying the beginning and the ending, but in the middle you fought the end, the sorrow.
Oh yeah, that's
you know what
true.
I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I'm
so
sorry.
It's hard to. So there's a lot of low points in this
Right.
game, obviously. A lot of slogs and a lot of stuff you had to do that was like can get a little tedious. But it's like they don't really miss a lot of beats as far as the actual story.
No, not at all. Not at all.
For me, that's what I'm saying.
I didn't mean it like that. I just meant like Yeah, I love the boss fights. But for me, like Metal Gear Solid 1, I feel like from beginning to end, like it was a nice steady through.
Right.
There was slog points in this game.
Yeah.
But having said that, like the payoff, truly one of the best stories, not just in Metal Gear series, but I think in video games. That to me, that whole ending with the boss and everything like that, finding
Really
out
good, right?
that's incredible.
Yeah.
And
love it.
unfortunately, being alive for a while and knowing video games, I
Right.
knew about it, but like
Well, I'm excited for you to play 4 and 5 because I don't think you know much about them.
no.
I think 3, a lot of people will talk about the ending and stuff like that, but 4 and 5 at least are at least a little like kept under wraps a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm interested about
So yeah,
that.
we'll see how that
So what do you
goes.
think overall? You're saying it's close behind 1, but you like 1 the
Yeah, I
best?
think 1's still my favorite, but 3 would be just like right there.
Right.
Like 3 would be right there.
Cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Two things I wanted to ask. One, did you ever get a big machine gun? Like in your travels, did you ever pick up a big machine gun?
Like an AK-47 kind of thing?
It's like a LMG kind of thing, like a big old.
No, I don't think I did.
There's a part in that game where if you get this big gun, he literally does the Rambo thing where if you hold it down for long enough, when it gets to like the back end of the clip, it goes ah, it starts like as he's shooting, and it is hilarious. The other thing is when you were a scientist, remember you had to dress as a scientist,
Right.
you took his face.
Yeah.
Before you got the face, did you like try walking around just a snake in the scientist thing or no?
Oh, like you can, because you go with the lab jacket too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of, the lab jacket.
Okay.
So when you have the lab coat, did you like walk around and like try to?
I did,
Do
but
anything?
all the guards like got me.
Oh really?
Yeah.
There's a part, I forget what it is exactly, but I think there's a part where you can be in the lab coat and like pretend to be like a scientist, a snake, and a lot of people are like, oh, look at that, like nice scientist, like something weird. It's like so funny.
Look at that nice scientist.
They did, but that's how they talk. Like really, oh, that's a handsome looking scientist. Like weird stuff like that. And I just remember cracking up about that.
But yeah, no, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So looking forward
Cool.
to
Glad you enjoyed.
2 more games.
2 more games. You're getting there.
Man, this has been a year. It's
Yeah.
been a year of Metal Gear.
Listen, you still got 2 more here. All right, so I want to move into the main topic of the show here. Dead Cells has got me thinking about roguelites. I kind of wanted to go through the history of roguelikes.
Go for it.
And kind of, it's not going to be like a all-encompassing history, but it is going to be, we're going to start with Rogue. We're going to talk about Rogue. And then we're going to talk about what it means to be a roguelike, and then see like the evolution of it, right? So it starts out with Rogue. Rogue is a game, came out in 1980. It's all ASCII art, which if you don't know what that is, that's the actual art on the screen is based on the keys on a keyboard, right? So it was completely created by keys. Like you ever see people make like faces out of like
Right.
parentheses and stuff like that? So that's the game. So it was all boxes with dashes inside. The way that the game is played is you're this little @ symbol, and you move with the arrow keys, and it's an RPG in this context. So it's procedurally generated. When you die, you're dead. You start over. No permanence at all. It's just, you got to beat the game in one run if you want to beat the game. Random dungeon generation. But what the game does that's so cool is, and this is why it was such an inspiration for a lot of games after it, is as you go through the different, like I said, it's randomly generated, these dungeons, but there are a bunch of different things that can happen in it. So you know how in these newer roguelike games, it's like, oh, you found a secret area, you found this cool weapon that's going to help you out or whatever. That was all in this game. Where you're going through these little dots and it's like, oh, that symbol is a coin, and you touch it. And then there'll be like a K, and it's like, all right, that's a kestrel, that's an enemy. Mm-hmm. And you like literally just bump into it a couple times and it dies and it takes your HP. Like you guys, the combat system is kind of like clashed. Like when you hit into it, it loses health, you lose health. You know what I mean? It loses health, you lose. So the original roguelikes and Rogue are turn-based exclusively. This game led to Hack and NetHack, which are, Hack was basically a clone of Rogue with different like enemy patterns and stuff like that. NetHack was an advanced version of it. I think it was 1987 or 1988.
Okay.
And it took Rogue and opened it up. You had like more equipment. You had like things you can do other than just run into them. You can like actually do things. Now, once we get on, so the actual definition of rogue, like
it all came from that, like that.
Rogue.
That was the
Rogue's a game. That's why we call it roguelike, because of Rogue.
Because of that game.
Yes.
That's amazing. So that's like
It is 1980. So game called Rogue. That's why we call them roguelike. So roguelike needs to be random dungeon generation.
Okay.
Needs to have permadeath. Needs to be turn-based. Non-modal, meaning you can get the strongest weapon in the game in the first room if it happens to be there, because it's completely random. You can get a key to 4th floor in the first floor because it's non-modal. It's completely...
like...
And anything could be anywhere. There's nothing that's stopping you from skipping areas, like almost in a Zelda 1-ish way.
Okay, yeah.
Speaking of, the original Zelda was very much based
inspired
on
by
Rogue. Yeah, very much inspired by Rogue.
Because you can just go anywhere. There's
and a key part of Rogue-like games is exploration.
Okay.
So those are like the pillars of this game, right? Then we get into I don't want to say next generation because there were many games in between. The important ones as we moved forward that now have brought this to where it is today. Yeah. Dwarf Fortress, if you don't know what that game is, it's very inspired by Rogue in the sense that it was actually in ASCII art as well. The difference between Dwarf Fortress and Rogue is in Dwarf Fortress, you're building like a civilization.
Okay.
You're not exploring a dungeon exclusively. Dwarf Fortress, if you can visualize it, it's basically a top-down ASCII art version of Minecraft in a way. It's Minecraft on steroids where you can actually like make dialogue choices. You can like do things way, way more advanced than you can do in Minecraft, but you're also digging and plotting out places for people, building farms, like, making a sustainable life for your group of dwarves. That game is very much based on Rogue because, like I said, it's ASCII art. You're going through, finding different things. It's randomly generated each time. Spelunky, You have a question?
No, I'm saying, like, these are all, like, recent. Like, I'm just, like, these are all, like...
Yeah, because there was
I feel like there's such a big gap, yeah.
Because there were games in between, and some of them were somewhat important, but I'm putting these into a category because there is so much like Rogue.
Okay.
Without being a true roguelike,
Gotcha.
because they're not all turn-based and they're not all permadeath, you know what I'm saying? But Spelunky falls into this category in that it's randomly generated, permadeath, non-modal, you can get anything anywhere, and it's all about exploration and secrets and stuff. So Spelunky is a real, like, Derek Yu, from Mossmouth, who created Spelunky, obviously loves Rogue. Like, there's no doubt about it. The way this game is based with the merchant, and like, you'll see in every roguelike, you're gonna see there's a merchant on every floor.
Right.
There are secrets in here. There's, you can get a key to a chest that's somewhere else. Like, that's all comes from Rogue. So Spelunky followed in the footsteps big time. The thing about Spelunky that makes it different is that there are specific items that you start with, bombs and ropes, that you can buy more of, and it's like a usable currency. And that's a big differentiator, and that's why a lot of people wouldn't say that it's strictly a roguelike, because it's not like...
You're starting from scratch.
Yeah, in Rogue, it's like you start with a sword and a certain amount of HP, and then you find random items that can or cannot help, depending on where you are. FTL, which is the game by Subset Games, who makes Into the Breach. FTL, very much similar to a roguelike. Another part that I didn't say about Spelunky is the branching paths, right? So, big part of roguelikes are you have a choice of where to go, right? So, in Spelunky, you don't. You get to the end, you get a door,
Right.
you're in the next level. You get the next door, you're in the next level. You can skip and do certain things in that game, but not in the same way that FTL puts you on a grid here. You start here, and then there's 4 branches.
You can go anywhere.
Where do you want to go? And it's randomly generated each. FTL is so much in love with Rogue that the first ship that you get is called the Kestrel, which is like the basic enemy type in Rogue.
Oh.
So they obviously love Rogue, but it's turn-based, it's permadeath, randomly generated, like very much in this vein. The difference is in FTL at least, so in Rogue it's like you want to get to the end, beat the boss, you beat the game. Very similar in FTL. You get to the end, beat the boss, it's over. Now, some people are saying you don't need an end boss to be a roguelike, but when you have a game like FTL that is like the final boss is so ridiculously, it's like notoriously hard that you're going through, basically it's getting easier and easier as you're playing, and then you get to the end and you're like, well, this fucking sucks. But the big differentiator, Spelunky and FTL, are in FTL, this is where it's starting to get like Rogue Legacy, like Dead Cells, where it's like you are getting things that are persistent through your playthroughs because you're spending money on new ships. And when you take a new ship in, it's an upgraded version of the other ship, so you're already stronger than you were before. So,
but that's new to these games. Rogue didn't have that?
Yeah, Rogue did not have that.
Okay.
Rogue was start from scratch. Nothing is persistent.
Okay. So these games expanded upon that.
So Spelunky is actually a lot like that because there's nothing you can do in Spelunky to start stronger or start with more bombs or anything.
But Rogue Legacy is definitely one of those games.
Yes.
So games like
and so is FTL. That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
FTL and Rogue Legacy are in the same boat where it's Rogue Legacy, you're literally giving your hero pool more HP.
Right.
More damage, more crit chance.
Right.
You're upgrading this manner that's making your starting people even stronger.
Right, so you can go through
so
more
FTL isn't that extreme version of that because it's really just saying you can unlock different ship types or you can start with a different race.
Okay.
Stuff like that. Binding of Isaac is much more like Spelunky in that way where you're starting at the same point each time. It's actually a lot like Dead Cells. You're unlocking new weapons and abilities for later runs.
Okay.
So like you'll come across like a vending machine in Binding of Isaac, and it'll open up this weapon for future runs.
Okay.
That's a big part of these games. These like second generation kind of things is you're unlocking things for subsequent runs.
Right.
You're not
upgrading your character.
You're not upgrading the character, you're upgrading the world. So that's Dead Cells, that's Binding of Isaac, that's Crypt of the Necrodancer. Like, all those games you're making the world give you better things so that you can get further and further.
Gotcha.
So Binding of Isaac is similar in these type of games, except not turn-based, which neither is Spelunky. But it also is interesting because it's a twin-stick shooter, Binding of Isaac. So you're not only getting different, stronger weapons, you're getting different spread types, right? So instead of shooting in a straight line, you might get one that shoots out both sides, and it's like, Binding of Isaac is a very, very good game in this genre in particular. And Crypt of the Necrodancer does even more with differentiating itself.
That's one that just came out this year, right?
No, Crypt of the Necrodancer is 2015, maybe?
And the one with the music?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's rhythm-based. So it's very much roguelike, actually. This is one of the most roguelike games on this list because you're starting from one point. You're literally using the arrow keys. You're knocking into the enemies, but you're doing it on a rhythm. Like, there's a beat, and the closer you are to hitting the beat with your attacks and your movements, the stronger you get.
That's cool.
It's very cool. That game is very, very good. It's tough as hell, and that one, again, you find a merchant on the floors, very similar to a lot of these games. You'll find merchant, you can buy items that are for this run only with one currency. You're taking out a different currency that you can spend for persistent upgrades. Nuclear Throne is another one that I really, really love. It's very similar to Binding of Isaac. It's a twin stick shooter, top-down roguelike where, again, it's randomly generated. But the interesting thing, and this is something that we're going to talk about with Dead Cells, and we did a little bit, where you're going through, in Nuclear Throne, you're beating bosses as you progress through. And in Nuclear Throne, the bosses are randomized even. So at the end of World 1, you will fight a boss. But it could be any number of bosses.
Okay.
It's not just the World 1 boss. That I really like. That and Enter the Gungeon. Nuclear Throne and Enter the Gungeon. It's like you get to the end and there's going to be a boss. And it comes from this pool of 8 different bosses.
Okay, so
each time it could be any of these 8 bosses. And it's like there's a few bosses for World 1, there's a few for World 2, there's a few for World 3, you know what I mean? And you're going through, and it might be like, oh yes, I have the right weapon. I have a weapon that's really good against this boss. I'm glad I got this boss rolled, So that's where like the procedural generation between the weapons, the enemies, the geometry, and the bosses really come into play. And then Dead Cells rounds out this particular list because we're playing it now, or I'm playing it now, you're going to be playing it, and it has a lot of these elements, but we're starting to blend into like different genres on top of being, like we talked about twin stick shooters with Binding of Isaac and Nuclear Throne. It's like this is like a true like Castlevania feeling game, where like Rogue Legacy was a Castlevania styled game, but it didn't feel like Castlevania to play.
Right.
It was just like a basic slash and like, magic abilities or whatever, but Dead Cells is like, it actually has that feel of combat. That's really, really good. But it also has that random generation, the, permadeath. But again, you're taking back currency. The difference here is in certain games like Crypt of the Necrodancer, Rogue Legacy, when you die, you take back that currency. In Dead Cells, if you die, you lose everything. Mm-hmm. You have to spend it in between these areas. There's areas to spend it in. So it's like, if you're in a really tough spot and you're surrounded by a bunch of enemies that you're finding hard to kill, you might be shut out of luck.
Right,
It's like you need to get through this area so that you can get to a safe zone and spend those cells.
Gotcha. But you don't spend those cells by...
They're gone. Yeah. And you're not getting back. You don't do a corpse run like in Dark Souls where it's like,
Yeah, you can go retrieve your souls.
Exactly. So then I have this other smaller list that are very much inspired by Rogue, but not gameplay relevant to Rogue. So Darkest Dungeon I have on this list because if you look at the mini-map when you're actually going through the dungeons, it looks like Rogue. It's rooms connected by little hallways, and it's randomly generated what you're going to find inside, and it's very, very much based on, like the base level of that game is Rogue. Now, of course, when you get into the gameplay, it's turn-based combat, and, it's totally different.
Right.
You have a party, you have all these different abilities and stuff, so, like, that's not roguelike, but you could tell the base level of Darkest Dungeon is inspired by Rogue. Slay the Spire, I think I showed you earlier this year or late last year. Very similar to FTL in that you choose the branches and different things happen based on that. This one is a card game. It's like a deck builder.
I do remember that game. Yeah.
Where like you literally spend cards. You have a mana pool similar to like Hearthstone, and you spend cards as your attacks. That's such a good game. I really actually want to go back to that game. And then Diablo. The original and Diablo 2 were both...
Moo.
Yeah. The evil cow level. But the Diablo games are very much inspired by Rogue in that the overworld, especially in 1, the dungeons are procedurally generated.
Okay.
And in 1, it was like, you just go deeper and deeper and deeper, and it was like super... fucking like Rogue, like just like it, except for it wasn't turn-based.
Okay.
And obviously it's, fully graphical and everything, but Yeah, and now the bigger thing to talk about with this topic is procedural generation has proliferated in a huge way. You know, we talk about No Man's Sky and its procedurally generated planets. We talk about Minecraft, and each time you build a world, it's procedurally generated with random stuff all over the place. It's like that idea spawns with Rogue.
So, like what we're saying right now, and I think we can all agree, is that Rogue.
We can all agree.
Is truly one of the most important video games of all time.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But now, the real thing, if you want to talk like that, is someone would have got there if Rogue didn't. That's the difference between, like I said, Hack came out very soon after Rogue. And of course, they looked at Rogue and said, wow, it's a great idea. Let's make one. Someone was going to come up with that. So Rogue is a very important game, and it influences many, many games still today. It's actually a really great game even in and of itself.
How do you get it? How do you obtain a copy of Rogue?
I'm sure you could just play it for free online. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know if, I mean, it was on the PC in 1980, so it's like, I don't know. DOS? I don't know what it would be on. But, yeah, I just wanted to do a brief little history.
You did your homework, man. I'm telling you.
Well, I didn't really... I love all these games. That's what I'm saying. So I know most of these games inside and out. But I'm very happy to have a really, really good one right now in Dead Cells.
Awesome.
And yeah.
How do you think Dead Cells compares to all the other ones? Pretty high on the list?
It's tough to say. I mean, as far as that next generation, I think it's pretty high up there. I think like Spelunky and FTL are like some of the best games
I know you love
maybe
Spelunky.
ever, yeah. So I think Dead Cells is maybe right behind those, but
you got a little Spelunky guy.
That's right. That's my Spelunker. But yeah, I think with that's going to do it for the episode. I just thought that'd be cool to dive into a little bit.
No, I gotta say thank you. I
know. I feel like I'm sitting here and lecturing you.
No. I find it really interesting. I love, if anything, I love more than video games. I love history. So like, video game history is like perfect for me. Like,
right.
I never knew about this game called Rogue.
And like I said, between 1980 and Diablo came out in 99 or whatever, it's a big fucking span where there were plenty of roguelike games. So this is not a comprehensive list. This is just my list of, the evolution throughout the genre. So
yeah, well, thank you, Dan, man.
Well, thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Shelby, as always, our producer.
Thank you for everything.
And
thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for playing Metal Gear.
Dude, thank you for for teaching me about rogues.
Yeah, no problem. We'll catch you guys same time every week, Monday, 9 a.m.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
I don't know what that one is.
You never saw the Adam West Batman? You never watched Batman?
Oh, okay. Sorry, Dan. That's not at the forefront of my brain all the time.
It is for me.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you next week. What's up, guys? It's Dan from Circle Back. I'm just here to let you know you can find everything that we do at circlebackgaming.com. If you just want the podcast, we're on iTunes. If you just want the video, we're on YouTube. So catch us either place. Thanks.